Welcome to MarcusG.TV. I'm Chef Marcus Giuliano. I'm a chef on a mission. Today's mission is nutrition, specifically salt. I found an article from Cisco. Cisco is a big food service company that's located across the country. It's most chefs' favorite company to buy from. They sell virtually everything and specialize in nothing. They literally stock like 25,000 products in their warehouses. They have warehouses across the country. I don't use Cisco. It's been, gee, I worked at one place that wanted me to buy from Cisco in the very beginning of my career, and I did reluctantly. But Cisco sells everything and specializes in nothing. So seafood, steaks, you name it, they got it. Frozen dry goods, mushrooms, they got it. But I just have a problem with them having so much that they can't keep the quality and really specialize in what I'm looking for. So, do they have organic stuff? Yes, they do. Do they have GMO-free stuff? Yes, they do. But that's really not what they that's really not what they're after. They're just after the mass market, okay? So for some reason I got on their email about a year ago, and I don't know how I did, but I got on their email. They started sending me emails, and so I read the their health section. So Cisco Shape, their new article out for June. Restaurants strive to reduce sodium in menu items, okay? First of all, that's all BS. Restaurants don't try to reduce sodium. Let's just get that out of the way. That's total BS. Okay? As chefs, we are trained to use salt. We are reinforced to use salt. We are told to use salt. We are told to season our food. It's instilled in us. Bland food equals unhappy guests, which then equals no business, okay? You can't serve bland food, okay? So that's the first problem with this, okay? The second problem is, in this article, they're not telling you what chefs are doing. They're not listing chefs' names. They're not saying like, oh, chef so-and-so of this place is using this in place of salt, or uses these items so they don't need to be salted, okay? They're not giving you specifics. They're giving you really a broad scope of, well, if you want to avoid salt, you should be using herbs. Well, of course, you should be using herbs anyway, but the issue is, if you're going to season, you're not just going to season stuff with herbs, okay? Yes, herbs are very, very, very important, but that's not going to satiate a person's palate. And it goes in here, one person says that salt is really crucial to cuisine, and they start the article off by saying the daily recommended allowances of sodium and really what's in food, because restaurants do have way too much salt. Let's put it this way. The restaurants have way, 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 way too much salt. So here's the issue with salt, okay? Pre-made foods, pre-packaged food, processed foods are loaded with salt. Now, if a restaurant wants to say, I'm not going to buy canned tomato sauce, we're going to make our own tomato sauce from canned tomatoes that aren't seasoned, then they can reduce some sodium in it, okay? That's one way of doing it, by them making their items, because things that are processed are highly salted typically. That's the typical rule. Highly, highly salted. So chefs are trained to provide pack flavor, which comes from salt typically. Flavor comes from a lot of things, but salt accentuates the flavor. And prepared foods are just loaded with it. Now here's what I do. When I go to a restaurant, I simply ask, please don't season my food. Don't add salt to my food. Do whatever you're going to do, the herbs and everything, don't do salt on my food. In exchange, I bring my own salt, because the one thing that this article misses is it doesn't talk about the different qualities of salt, because salt is not salt. So people say, oh, I use sea salt. That's what most people say. Oh, I use sea salt. Chefs say, oh, I use sea salt. All salt came from the sea. It doesn't matter if it's from the Himalayas, it's from Utah, it doesn't matter where the salt deposits are. All salt originated from the sea. So it's all sea salt to begin with. Whether you buy kosher salt, whether you buy Morton salt, whatever you're buying, it's all sea salt. So that's the overall classification of salt. Salt comes from the sea. So when chefs say, I use sea salt, that's not good enough for me. That's totally not good enough. So the issues with most salt that chefs use, and most salts that sea salts, or so-called sea salts, even these upscale sea salts, they're highly processed, Okay, anti-caking, extreme heat, which changes the structure of it. They're stripped. The minerals are taken out of it. It's basically a toxin, a poison to your body at that point. That salt is unfit for human consumption. And yes, kosher salt is basically regular salt. It's just a larger granulated crystal. There's not much of a difference. There really isn't a difference. I've called the salt companies and said, what's your difference between what processing difference? They say, we process it the same. It's just a different size. And chefs like kosher salt. Most places use kosher because it has bigger granulars. And chefs, when they're used seasoning with their hands, it's not like you're eating at a table or you're cooking, you know, 4 or 5 portions at home and you got a salt shaker. Chefs like to stick their hands in and grab and throw the salt into something. They like that feel. So most chefs will, I use kosher salt. Kosher salt is no different than other table salt. So let's get out of there. It's no different. Sea salts. You know, if you have a tube of packaged sea salt, chances are it's heat processed, chances are it's stripped, it just came from some source somewhere. Now don't get me wrong, there's a lot of high quality salts out there. There's a company called Saltworks. There's a lot of salt companies out there that will specialize with specific area salts that are less processed. A land salt from Hawaii that has the clay in it. I personally like the Real Salt from the Utah Flats, or Redmond Real Salt. It's an independent company. They have high quality salt and they don't process it to the extent that other salts are processed. It's more of a pure salt. It has over 50 minerals in it. Himalayan salt is one thing that people say, oh, Himalayan salt. Well, some Himalayan salts are highly processed. I've seen them. They're highly processed. So when you pick a Himalayan salt, you really have to pick a high quality Himalayan salt where you know. Now, if you're going to go Himalayan salt, I think the Symphony brand is the way to go. They're super strict, very high standards, super expensive, but it's well worth it. When you think of the salt you're going to be using, you're not using much salt. So buy the best possible salt. So to recap this, go to a restaurant, ask them, please don't season my food. Pull your own salt out of your pocket, out of your purse, whatever you have. My wife and I carry our own salt with us, and we season our food with a high quality salt because I can't trust what that restaurant's doing. So we're talking about toxic, pure poison salt that most chefs use. Now we're talking about a salt that is loaded with the minerals and like actually has and can fuel stuff, because life comes from the ocean. The mineral content of salt is incredible, of high quality pure salt. It's incredible. It has so many vital nutrients in there, vital minerals in there. So, Cisco. Maybe Cisco doesn't sell a high quality salt. Maybe that's why that's not listed in this article. I don't know if they got it from somewhere else. But it's saying that restaurants are making changes. I honestly don't see that. I honestly don't see changes happening. I know a lot of chefs. I've seen this. I've seen these type of articles for the last 15 years. Reduce salt, reduce salt, reduce salt, reduce salt. And, you know, New York City wants to reduce salt as a law, which is a great idea. But because there is way too much salt in our diet, and there's way too much bad salt in our diet. So that's my tip on there. Bring your own salt. Bring your own high quality salt to a restaurant when you're cooking at home. And now if you come to my restaurant, I'm using the high quality salt and everything. So we don't really buy prepared foods that much. If we do buy prepared food, it's organic. It's, you know, no preservatives, this or that. But the salt that we use throughout the whole restaurant is high quality salt, and paying 5, 6, 7 times the price of other salt that chefs would be using. So, and I don't mind paying that because I feel good about supporting an independent salt producer. I feel good about serving high quality, healthier food, and that's part of our mission. So I'm Chef Marcus Giuliano. Thanks for watching this video. If you like my videos, please hit like, subscribe to my channel, and pass it on.